Hey guys, wanted to give you a review of the P10c. I have shot a whole bunch of rounds through these guns, got 3 of them, and I've been carrying it for quite a while, so I figured I'd give you guys my thoughts. So let's talk about reliability. This is my first P10, and I've put quite a bit of rounds through it. As you can see, all the finish is wearing off, but it has been 100% reliable. The only malfunctions that I've had with it have been ammunition related. I have had a bunch of Type 1s that stem from some garbage ammunition. I can't remember the last time I had a stovepipe with it. I may have had one, but tap rack fixed it, good to go. I had one stuck case with wolf ammunition that I remember. Beat it out of there, put another magazine and was good to go. So, and I am an electrician and I get into a lot of dusty areas and a lot of dust makes its way into my guns and they chug along, just like a Glock would. So I would not say that they're unreliable or let that be a factor into dissuading you from buying the pistol. They're very, very reliable, even under high round count. So let's talk about the trigger. Triggers are good. There's a little bit of take up, tiny bit of squish. Didn't see any squish there. Tiny bit of squish, maybe, and then a break. Very clean break, very short reset, very springy reset, very clicky. Like it a lot. Even though a lot, under firing fast, you're not even going to feel your reset. You're going to, reset it under while it's cycling, if you know what you're doing. So it's very good. The only complaint I have with it is brand new. That little dingus right there. If you don't have 100% of your finger on that trigger, it just hung up there too. When I'm holding the gun at this angle, like I'm trying to show a camera, it happens a lot. Like right there. So if you don't have your finger all the way up and whatever, it could catch. So what I did was I took the trigger out and filed the corner of it down just a little bit, like 1/100 of an inch or whatever. Like I ran the file across it twice and that was it. No, it doesn't do it anymore. I've yet to do it to this P10, just because this one's pretty much new. I don't like that I have to modify something right out of the box, but it's nothing that I can't handle. And most people don't have that problem. It might just be my finger and how my finger interfaces with the trigger. Especially when you're shooting forward, it almost doesn't happen, but it didn't give me the warm and fuzzies happening like that, so I went ahead and shaved it down. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not encouraging you to do it, but if you want to, there's your option. Let's talk about the sights. The sights that come with it are aluminum. They are not steel. So if you rack this off of concrete or drop it on concrete, it might dent your sight. So that's something to be aware of. The sights that come with it, I believe, are tritium, but it is such dark tritium that I almost wouldn't even call it tritium. These might be white sights. I don't even know. I have had a set of tritium before that were kind of bright, but these ones are not. So take that for what it's worth. If you're going to run stock iron, or you could run stock irons and be perfectly fine, but people make fiber optic sights that you can buy, or brighter tritium from night vision or whatever. So those are the iron sights. They're adequate, they're fine. The optics ready system is awesome. So they make an optics ready gun that has this really deep cut into the slide. And CZ makes aftermarket plates. CZ Custom makes aftermarket plates. CHPWS makes plates. And you can get a plate for pretty much any optic that's on the market right now. And some of them even come with backup sights. However, I would recommend the ones from Night Vision. They're a lot better than those. That's Night Vision with an F, not Night Vision with a V. Night Vision. And they are a lot more well-shaped. They're just a lot better to look through than the ones that come with the plates. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But the cut in there is deep enough that once you put a plate on and your optic, your regular optic height sights co-witness perfectly. If you have a Glock MOS, you know that cut's not very deep. And you put a plate on there, and then you put an optic on there, and then your sights will barely co-witness, if at all. So that's something to, or one in its favor for the sighting system. I have not had this come loose on me. I've shot it about 1,000 rounds. I had the optic come loose on me, but it came loose off the plate. It was my fault. I probably didn't put enough Loctite on it, but the plate has been solid. So really good sighting system there as far as optics and stuff goes. Let's talk about the grip. The grip is good. It's not as severe as a Glock as far as grip angle goes, and it's not vertical like a 1911 or something similar. It's kind of in between, and you get a really low bore axis, so your thumb gets in there, or your hand gets in there nice and high. And I will say it shoots flatter than a Glock 19 or an M&P gun. I've side-by-sided them, shot them all at the same time under the same conditions. This shoots the flattest. And I'm pretty sure it's because they cut all this metal out of the slide. And you get that low bore axis, and since there's not a whole lot of weight reciprocating, it shoots really flat. So if you can have a flatter shooting gun, why not do it? The one thing I will say about the grip is this texture. It's aggressive, especially the front and the back. And if your hands are warm, it's fine. Squeeze it real tight like you're supposed to, it's going to leave a print on your hand. But if your hands are cold or your hands are wet, this hurts. I do not care for when my hands are cold and wet. So I ended up stippling my other two guns, and it's grippy and it doesn't hurt my hands. I like it a lot more. If you don't care about your resale value, or you don't care about modifying guns, recommend stippling it or sending it off to a company to get it stippled. This one's going to get a waffle stippling or something similar once my new soldering iron tips come in, or wood burner tips come in. Let's talk about the slide release. So if you have been looking at this gun, you notice that the slide release is gone. And you might be asking, why is that? It's here on this side. I'll show you why. So when I'm shooting and I've got the last round firing, this palm touches that slide release, and the slide will come back and will go forward on an empty chamber. And then I have to pull the trigger, I'll get a click, find out, oh, I've got a type 1, I'll do a tap rack, and then find out that it's empty, and it's not a type 1. And then I have to reload the gun. That takes a lot more time than just reloading your gun. So what I did was I took it out and then cut it off, and I only cut off one side of it with a Dremel. So now when I reload the gun, I press down on this while I insert my magazine, and it goes forward. Now the Ambi slide release stock is very good in that this side presses down just as easy as this side. Guns like the M&P, this side's a lot harder and it's almost useless. But this one's very good. You can press on either side and it's just as easy as the other side. But I ended up cutting mine off. Now, while we're on the topic of reloading, if you take a loaded magazine that's fully loaded and you insert it in there pretty hard, the slide goes forward for you. And some people, that's how they reload their gun. I don't like doing that, because if you are reloading your gun with a magazine that has a few rounds in it, like worst case scenario, and you go to insert that, sorry, bad angle here, but it doesn't go forward. So I don't like to rely on that. So what I do is I insert it kind of hard, but I have my finger here ready to go. And as soon as I press down on it, it forces the gun up into that finger and then presses this down. And that's how I reload my gun, because I don't have it on this side anymore. So that's how I do it. You can do what you want, but I don't like to rely on a method that doesn't work all the time. Real quick, let's talk about accuracy. We'll talk about it with this guy. At 25 yards, this gun benched on a sandbag. I'm getting a 1-inch group at 25 yards. That's stellar. And that's with gold dots too. That's not with junk ammunition. So take that for what it's worth, but it's really accurate. If I can make headshots at 25 yards, that's good enough for me. Now the magazine, let's do this one. The magazine release is a point of contention for the P10. The original magazine release has two bevels on it. One here, one here. The old ones have one bevel on it, right there. Or sorry, the new ones have one bevel on it. Now, the reason they changed it is because it's pretty stiff. You will press, and you'll get a click, almost like a trigger. Same thing on the ammo side. It's pretty tough. Now, on a loaded magazine, it's real tough. If you look here, this plate will suck in to the gun before it ejects. It's hard to see there, but it happens. It's real tough on this one. It hurts my thumb, not gonna lie. This side is real tough. And if I can barely do it, there's no way my wife can do it with her dainty hands. I open up all the pickle jars in this house. So, if you got small hands or you don't like the fact that it's tough to do, like if your hand hurts because it's, you've gotten into a tussle with someone, or worst case scenario, you shot somewhere in that hand and that muscle ain't working just right, it's hard to press. The new ones, super easy. Not ambi though, but you can press it with this pointer finger and it comes out easy. So to me, that's a non-issue. One thing to note, this is the original P10 magazine cutout. So that's the cutout it uses to keep this guy in. This cutout, I believe, is for the CZ-P09. So you don't even use this in a P10. This one here is for the P10. So, if you have a Gen 1 P10 that does not have this cutout, it will not work in a quote-unquote Gen 2 gun. So that's something to be concerned about. You don't want to throw a Gen 1 magazine in your magazine pouch and then carry a Gen 2 gun, because it won't lock in there. You're going to have trouble with that. So that's something to be concerned about. Another thing about these magazines, the 15 and the 17 rounders for the P10s both use the 15 round spring. I do not care for that. I don't care for any magazine system that has an extended base pad that uses the stock spring. Reason for that is because the tension, you'll notice, is nowhere near as strong on the 17 round magazine than it is on the 15. If you get a bunch of dirt in here, or a bunch of dust like I do, you'll take this first round out and the other one will slowly come up. That's a big problem for reliable feeding. Now, I've not had an issue at the range, loading a magazine up and having it being clean and shooting it. And I have not shot my 17 rounder like dirty with my hollow points in it, because I don't like to waste hollow points. But after I found out that issue of taking the round out and it's slowly coming up, I quit carrying these. I just have them for range use and that's it. I might even swap these guys out. Or swap the base pad out for a regular one. If somebody wants to buy my old base pads, they can, but I don't recommend them. If you want extended magazine for them, just get a 19 rounder. Disassembly of the P10, very easy. Just like a Glock, pull the trigger, pull this back, pull this down, goes forward. Obviously make sure your gun's empty before you do any of that. But disassembly of the frame's a lot harder. With a Glock, I can take apart a Glock with a house key. Like, the pins come out so easy. But this one, you're going to need a wood, piece of wood with some holes in it, so you have somewhere to beat the pins out. You'll need a hammer, you'll need a punch. You have to punch out these roll pins. This one comes out pretty easy. These ones don't. You'll beat those pins out, you'll take this out. This guy here, there's a spring underneath it, and a little piece of plastic underneath it that's going to come out whether you like it or not. There is a shepherd's hook right here. When you take this out, that shepherd's hook goes flying if you don't pinch it when you pull it up. And then back here, there's a detent right there that you can see that goes through it. And then there's a spring in the back. And that might come out, it might not. But you want to make sure you're in a clean area so you can find those parts if they go flying. And the spring that's back here looks awful similar to the one that's up here, but they're different lengths. So be very careful disassembling this if you ever take this out to shave down the trigger like I did. Or if you're going to cut off the slide release like I did. Not telling you to do any of that, not telling you to take apart your frame, but if you're going to, pay attention to that. And then reassembly is just as easy as a Glock. Aftermarket support is definitely there. This is the gun that I carry. You've got your aftermarket plates. Everyone's making plates. You've got your aftermarket threaded barrels, aftermarket compensators. You've got your Parker Mountain machine. This one's a primary machine. Killer Innovations is making stuff, but I can't say anything about the products because I haven't used them. Again, night vision for these your optic ready sights. Your lights interface the same way they would of any Glock, because the front of the trigger guard is the same length. Everyone's making holsters for these. Filster, LAS concealment, Raven concealment, Tier 1 concealed, Tier X arms, Filster if I've said them already, but yeah, everyone's making holsters. The aftermarket market is there. So don't let anyone tell you, oh, you need to get a Glock because they got aftermarket. Like, shut up. These have so much aftermarket support because they've been so popular in the past few years. But anyway, that's my review of the P10 guns. If you got any questions, just hit me up. I'll be glad to answer them for you.